the Kangani system. I'm sure most of you are aware of that. We won't go into that. As I said, most of them, but 80% of them were rubber tappers. In 1931, they formed nearly 3/4 of estate laborers in Malaysia. And then it just increased. In 1957, there were 142,000 odd rubber estates, and about 88% of the tappers there were Indians. In 1970, there were about 45% of Indian rubber tappers in Malaysia. Don't forget, this was the time when rubber was moving as a result of Second World War, and the tappers had actually helped not just the Malayan government then, but also the British government, which were ruling Malaya at that time. And the situation is the same then and now. Again, there are plenty of cases like this. What are their complaints? It's very basic, very minimal complaints. The wages are very bad. They don't earn enough. Their housing, as I said, that's hopeless. They don't have a proper roof on top. Children's education is totally lacking. You would have seen some kids just now studying in a sort of an open space. That was last year. So it's still the same. The healthcare is also the same. We'll go briefly into these areas. When we talk about the healthcare, this is National Medical Association talking about this about 2 years ago, and they were deeply concerned about the state conditions in estates. Basically, what you have is you don't have a proper hospital, or you don't have a clinic, but you have a shed with an hospital attendant who's normally not there to take care of your problems. And in most cases, when there is a maternity emergency or some other incidences, mostly snake bites, because they have to go early in the morning to tap rubber. What happens is that they have to go way out of their estates in look of a clinic or a hospital. And in this case, we are talking about 70s and 80s, we had a lot of fatalities then. Sadly, it's also happening now. We'll go into that later. As I said, it's lack of access to clinics, and it doesn't guarantee them proper health care. This is a former deputy health minister, considering that some managers of plantation workers actually don't allow their workers to go for treatment, because if you leave them out, there's no one to tap rubber for you, and if you go, you are not paid. Basically, it's dollars and cents at the end of the day. When you talk about dollars and cents, it's a hard work actually for rubber tappers. They start very early in the morning, some at maybe 3 or 4, because they have to start tapping from 6 a.m. and then they finish at 2, so that they can collect the latex, which should be sent to the factory in time. And giving them, that's a statistic done by a local NGO in Malaysia, 30 seconds to tap a tree to meet their 11 kg minimum quota. We have a quota level there as well. And for this year, it's about US $4, which is nothing in today's standards. And if it rains, you can't tap, and you got no income. So basically, that's the lifestyle they have. And then as a result of that, you will realize that the women also have to go out to tap. As a result of that, they have to neglect taking care of their children. And then there are also spin-off problems, because you don't have child care centers in estates. They still have that problem. Some estates do provide them, most don't. And it's an open thing, it's an open knowledge in Malaysia that children from estate schools do not go very far in their education. I think Trisha will be talking more on that later on. So what is it that they want, even now, as we speak today? They want a proper 24-hour water and electricity supply, proper medical care, education for their kids, and decent living conditions, and a fair wage. It's very simple, very minimum requirement needed for a person to survive. And this is what they have been fighting for. They've been fighting for this for a long time. This is 1941 Congress report. Don't forget, 1941, Indian nationalism was really taking its roots, and all these workers were from India, so they had this effect of nationalism in India, in Malaya as well. And this Congress politician, R.H. Nathan, had come out with this report. This is the first compilation of a report on the condition of Malaysian estate workers, Malayan, sorry, I should say, then. And these were what they were seeking: a proper pay increase, eviction notices should not be an immediate basis, sick pay with leave, estate ambulances, improvement of living quarters, and the provision of safe drinking water. I really hope you could actually keep this in your mind, because we'll come back to visit all these requirements again later. And then in 46, again, another person, same issues, pay parity, provision of proper education, end of molesting of Indian women, so on, it's sexual abuse and things like that, proper medical facilities, and closing of toy shops. Closing of toy shops is another separate issue altogether. What happens is that the plantation owners would sort of pay wages in the form of toddy in lieu of cash. The whole idea is that they don't want the tappers to make noise or to take up an active position in questioning or asking for their rights. The whole point is you get drunk and you just stay home. So they used to pay them in toddy. Again, we'll come back to this toddy thing again. 1947, same issues, education, children's welfare, medical care, and dismissal of workers. 2002, that was 1941, the first report, 2002. YSS is a think tank aligned to a ruling party in Malaysia, and these were their findings. Access to continuous electricity supply and clean pipe water were lacking. House ownership, still a problem. Schools, it's a problematic area as well. Medical facilities, job training programs, and land development schemes. They were all lacking. The issue started in 1941. Malaysia gained its independence in 1957. Then 2002 report also indicates same problems are coming again, replicated all over again. This is a study by CPPS, Center for Public Policy Studies, in 2006. Trisha will speak more about this later on. Again, the statistics are quite damning. 30% of Indians do not own houses in Malaysia. There have been 300,000 Indian poor who have been relocated from estates. They have become what they are called as urban settlers now, into movement from rural areas to urban areas. Involuntary displacement of them have resulted in economic downturn for them and things like that. There have been government policies to provide alternative housing for retrenched workers. Still, it's not in place. Education again has been an issue, 2006. Youth alienation, simply because they've moved out from their area of comfort into an area where they can't work, and as a result they have been sidelined and marginalized. So those were the statistics. What I'm going to show you next are real life stories, the stories which were covered by Malaysia in the last 2 years. This is the first one, bonded slaves. Don't forget, I'd like to remind you the fact that when the first wave of Indian tappers were brought into Malaysia, they were brought in as slaves, bonded slaves. 2007, Malaysia stumbled across this family who were also being treated as bonded slaves. That man is only 42, although he looks much older than that, or aged. But he, his wife, and 5 of their children have been bonded to a contractor to work as a rubber tapper since 1992. When we found them, they had already escaped from the and they were being given protection by certain NGOs. This is what they had to say. In 8 years I was there. It's only let out twice, once for the